Welcome back, everyone, to GGN. This is part 2 for this news report today. There'll probably be about 4 parts for Wednesday, August 21st, 2013, and I'm Darko. My website is ggnonline.net, and on YouTube my channels are ddarko2012 and ddarko2013. Alright, we have some police state news and kind of latest on the shootings and that. FBI trains cops to deal with mass shooters. Local cops are being taught to face gunmen head-on, alone if necessary. So it goes on, it says that the drill is part of a training program that the FBI is helping run for local law enforcement agents nationwide. Acting on a post-Newton White House directive, partnering with a Texas-based training center, the FBI has been teaching best practices for responding to mass shootings. Because this is just normal, right? This is being normalized. By doing this, not only do they, of course, legitimize the police state, but then they normalize mass shootings, like I said, to put a Band-Aid on it instead of asking the question, why is society so sick? Why are they doing this? What does it matter? The goal is to promote a standardized strategy as local police departments or revenue collectors, invariably the first officers to arrive, respond to such shooting. These guys, remember I said, you got to think about it this way. They basically enforce the monetary policy. That's why I call them revenue collectors a lot of time. That's what funds them to be able to keep enforcing the monetary policy in the banking system, the banks themselves. So really, they kind of just work for the Federal Reserve. Like all the other ones, like the IRS, like the sheriffs and all them. So what they're doing is it's about maintaining a good stock of future tax slaves, future slaves to the banks. So then that's what they do. So they got to protect the future, got to protect the schools. But just people in general, right? Just people in general. Because they're also paying taxes and supporting the system. They say the drill, which uses non-lethal rounds, reinforced the now standard protocol of engaging the shooter directly instead of waiting for specialized SWAT teams, even if the officer's weapon is less powerful than the gunman's. So it says, and even if studies show a solo officer will be shot 1/3 of the time. So be a hero, right? SWAT team has real-life terror drill on school bus filled with terrified children. So getting the children used to the police state tactics, getting them conditioned to submit and obey. There's another example of how they're turning America into a complete police state. So like the girl says in the beginning of the video, I just did what they told me to do, you know. So, and this is how it is. And see, like the student that actually defended the other children from what? From a knife attack, and I think the person who had a gun, he was actually suspended for doing that. So they don't want actually individuals, they don't want people individually, students defending their fellow students from someone with a gun or a knife. They actually punish that because you got to leave it up to the authorities. So with that being said, that they did that and they're doing all this training. Remember, we had this elementary school shooting suspect was an average guy. So I was talking about how these shootings were basically a form of venting. That's why they keep guns in a lot of guns in our society and our culture so that we can vent. And the best way to vent is to vent on other slaves. Don't vent on the actual people responsible for it. You know, just vent on other slaves, and that allows them to do that, to basically prevent a real change or revolution from taking place. Just said this, right? So then this happened, right? I just said this on Monday, and then this happened, what was it, yesterday? And then, of course, they said he's an average guy, because a lot of average people sometimes feel like just going bonkers. I mean, yeah, it's best to not do it. But it's a good, happy story because you have, it was a white guy and a black girl that talked him out of it. So I hate bringing race into it, but I just see it for what it is, because there's another story right now that's being completely overshadowed, and that's this right here. Basically, you have these two black guys, and basically this guy's a mulatto. They're calling him a white. He wasn't charged. These two were charged killing an Australian, cyclist? So, I'm sorry, a college baseball player that was out for a jog in Oklahoma. And here's another picture that I found of them. So this is supposedly, or this guy, I don't know, is the third guy. But yeah, as far as this woman goes, tough, chatty clerk thwarted Georgia school gunman. She kept him talking, persuaded him to put his gun down. So a lot of times, like I said, in these scenarios, a lot of times they just get 150 bullets through their head. But I hate to laugh, but it's just I don't know what else to say. But basically, she talked him out of it, and and that's all it took was just some human empathy and compassion, talking with the guy, saying, I got issues too. And she thanked God for it, and of course the people in this liberal Raw Story website, they made comments about, well, I don't know how God has anything to do with this. So it just makes me so sick. But moving on here. So, and it says here that, ways the NRA is full of crap. Example number 19534. So again, like I said, the NRA does not speak for gun owners, so they can just shut the hell up. The NRA does not speak for gun owners. A lot of people fell for it back in the day, in the 30s, when they put this sign up there and all their businesses and stuff. You see in all the media back from the olden days, and even in movies and that shows NRA. We do our part. Well, they do our part in doing what? Well, how the NRA built a massive secret database of gun owners. So they represent the Smith & Wessons. They represent the gun manufacturers, right? That's what they do. They don't represent individual firearm owners and their rights. So they just will make sure that you have the rights to keep purchasing their shit guns. The NRA publicly fights against the National Gun Registry. Says the organization has gone to incredible lengths to compile information on tens of millions of gun owners without their consent. Coincidentally, these same people too say that the government's come to take their weapons, come to take their firearms. And the sad reality is that if there was going to be a revolution, it would have taken place already. So, basically, like I said before, nothing's going to really happen. What we're going to see here is that people are not going to really unite for any common principle or anything, because I don't think we're really meant in this country, in the U.S., to really unite on anything. And so that's what we're going to see. We won't see a revolution. We'll just see a slow decay and death of this country and all the cultures within it, much like you're seeing in other European countries. And out of the ashes will come this kind of, mega cities, smart cities, utopia run by scientists and elites, with all the races destroyed, the tribes, the bloodlines destroyed, families destroyed, and but hey, gays have their rights, transgenders have their rights, and everybody else besides white Europeans are being discriminated against. Now, I understand that African Americans are, they have their own issues to deal with. I'm not saying that doesn't exist here in the United States. But like I mentioned before, as a disclaimer, I'm white and I'm speaking for my fellow white people. So you got your own battles to fight. I got mine. So, but I'm trying to reach as many people I can with this message. So just take it for what it's worth. School security changes have parents dropping kids at the curb. But it goes on and says that, but enhanced security measures on public school campuses include the elimination of parents walking their children to classrooms after the first week of school. So it says here, I really want to take my son to class since it's the first time at school. It says here, they may have security, but I want to know where my kid's going at all times. Well, then don't drop it off at basically a re-education camp to be indoctrinated to be a future good tax slave then, right? But they can't, because they can't afford to send their kids to private school, or they can't afford to stay home, right? The woman or the man, whatever, can't afford to stay home and raise the kids. They have to be out, basically earning a living too. But it says here that, for example, one of them hasn't allowed parents to walk students for years, so it's okay, right? What are you talking about, It says here that the districts, they say that they're simply joining the ranks of many, so this is the this is the normal, right? From this point forward, parents of the young ones at the school will have to adjust. One obedient slave said, it doesn't surprise me one bit. All the security going around, all the things going on, it doesn't surprise me at all. Security guards to be posted at city's elementary schools. So this is from almost the beginning of this year, end of December. And I mentioned this before, that eventually you're going to have huge complexes where the children will basically be at for 5 days of the week. And then on the weekends, they'll get visitation rights. The parents will get visitation rights for their children. which of course ultimately have been property of the state the entire time, but naive parents don't see it that way. So when it happens, they're going to get pissed off, especially when the state comes out and says, well, sorry, you no longer have access. And of course, the children will be conditioned and brainwashed enough to not even want to be at home, and they will just volunteer and want to stay at these complexes. They'll have everything for them: entertainment, drugs, sex rooms, whatever it is. They'll have it all there for them. And so they'll have guards there to protect the children from their parents. So Arkansas Attorney General says schools can't arm teachers, so you got to have armed security guards, armed teachers. It's to keep not the shooters from getting in, but to keep the children from getting out eventually. Then at Illinois State University, there's a bomb threat that increased campus security. The administrator said they'll be increasing security for the next several days while law enforcement officials investigate the threat. So, and the sad part about that individual at the beginning in Georgia, he didn't kill anybody, and yeah, it's a pretty serious thing. But you have to think about how we're in such fear. That's how we're able to be controlled in such a massive levels, because people are so frightened. They are so scared of everything. And so, back in the day, if something like that did happen, which it didn't because the society wasn't as sick, that you have 20-year-old young man going into a school, like in China, and basically knifing and stabbing kindergartners. Something's sick in society. We need to question that, but it doesn't get asked, right? The question isn't asked. Let's just get more police and more security measures. Let's hold terror exercises and scare the living shit out of the kids, to keep it more, to simulate a real situation. We won't tell the parents that we're doing it to their children, That's how we do it, so. But if it did happen, let's say back in the day, at some time in the 19th century, even the early 1900s, they probably just let that kid go home and no harm done, you know what I mean? But no, he's going to rot in a prison because of terror charges, and what do you think that's going to do? It's going to make him worse. I just watched that movie last night, Public Enemy, with Johnny Depp, about John Dillinger, and one of his quotes was what? He goes, basically, you're gonna see the most meanest son of a bitch when I get out of here, basically, was what happened. He got served 9 years in prison for $50, robbing for $50. And they said, basically, that he hated society after that. On a side note, though, it's funny how they call him Public Enemy. He's not the enemy of the public; he's the enemy of the banks. That's why the public liked him, because he was sticking it to the banks. But they got to twist everything around. And of course, after that, they created a huge interstate federal police force for one man. Isn't that funny? Kind of like the Limburg Law, the one law that was made. It was named after the person who didn't, or who wasn't for it, right? Elementary school teacher sentenced to 30 days in jail after she told her students to beat 6-year-old bully so he wouldn't know how it feels. So we know how it feels. So she'll never teach again. You can understand why she did it, because you want people to just start sticking up for themselves. But this is in a state-run brainwashing camp, so the brainwasher is not supposed to be doing this. She used her power and authority to direct violence, and yeah, technically that's messed up. McGinn ceasefire launch gun-free zone program. So Seattle mayor is partnering with Washington ceasefire to launch a new program designed to help businesses become gun-free zones. Businesses will be able to opt into the program by visiting the website, signing a pledge to participate. So businesses, yeah. So they all like 9/11, 9/11, now it's Sandy Hook. We're surprised that nothing's been done, so they're happy to see that. Judge orders Daytona Beach to return veterans' guns. So pretty crazy stuff. It says here, after an honorably discharged combat vet called a veterans assistant hotline for someone to talk to. It says while the VA hotline worker did the right thing, having the police come out and check on the situation, the police went too far. Well, of course they did. So he was taken into custody and separated from his firearms. The police searched his home without a warrant or any circumstance and legally seized $20,000 worth of firearms and all kinds of equipment. And I do love how the media likes to use words like teens and youths when they happen to be darker complexions, but when they're white, they just say white on black. For what it's worth, their statement as far as what motivated them, they said that they were bored and they didn't have anything else to do, so they decided to kill somebody. Things just got a little carried away after a person who basically bragged how bad he was accused of killing his roommate, then removing his head and limbs from his torso. This sicko, cannibal killer, sets up special fan sites so admirers can send him letters in jail as he waits for dismembering and eating his lover. Thank you.